Hi, welcome to Jessica. I'm your host, Jessica Rector. Today is one of those topics that I'm excited about and a little nervous about. Today we're talking about a book called Without My Mother's Love by Rachel Robinson. And the reason why I think it's so important that everybody watches this show is because the story and the author, the lady who wrote it, are so important in today's world, in today's issues of what's going on in the world. It shows strength and triumph and perseverance. It actually makes you want to get out of your chair and put yourself into action. It actually touches your soul. I'm getting actually goosebumps right now just thinking about it. And I'm excited about this show. I've never actually met the author. And I feel that she will change the world through her book and through her spirit. Please welcome her today, Rachel Robinson. Thank you. I have to give you a hug. I'm so moved by this book. So please have a seat. Oh, I'm not usually nervous about shows, and I'm actually very nervous because this book just touched me so much, and there's so much that I feel that you can and will do to so many people out there. So let me first start off by saying thank you for coming on and your willingness to talk about this. And I know a lot of it may be difficult and emotional, so we are there for you and we will make you feel as comfortable as possible considering the situation. With that in mind, I just want to start off first by asking you what your personal definition of love is.
First, I want to thank you for having me on this show. And my definition of love is something that runs deep, something that never ends, knowing that someone's always there for you. The doors never close, the windows never close, it's always there. And just knowing that you can always go to that place, if it's a husband, if it's a child, if it's a mother, knowing that that person is there no matter what.
Another reason why I think this is so important, I mentioned initially that it was important just because of your strength and your perseverance and your courage to actually talk about all these things, but another reason is because it pertains to something that the majority of us take for granted, that the majority of us don't ever think about, and that's a parent's love. And that, I think, is important to get out there because people who are taking it for granted, I'm hoping that it'll open their minds a little, change perspectives, let us into another world that we wouldn't even necessarily think about knowing existed, because when we're caught up in our own world, we may not know that anything besides how we grew up existed.
Right.
So with that in mind, tell us a little bit about, or tell us the first image, first picture, first memory you have of your mother, or you and your mother's relationship.
The first image of my mother and I's relationship is, it's not a typical image. It's there's an absence there. I mean, physically, yes, my mother was present. Emotionally, and emotionally, she wasn't there. I was alone. So I guess my earliest memory of abuse is at age 5. And even then, my mother wasn't there for me. She left me. She entrusted the person who abused me time after time, even with me pleading. And I never told her what was going on, but in my cries for help, you know, begging her to stay or to take me with her, she ignored me. So my mother's love was absent from my earliest memory.
And that's interesting because of the fact that I can't tell you what I was doing at age 5. I have no memory, and I think a lot of people don't have memory at age 5, and so it's interesting that your first memory starts at such a young age. And do you think that's because of the abuse kind of implanted that image in your head?
Most definitely. I mean, it was something traumatic. I think we all have experiences that take place in our lives that we don't remember. Like, I may not remember the drive, 20 years from now, I may not remember the drive to do this show, but 20 years from now, I can guarantee you I'm going to remember what happened when I was 5 years old because it was so traumatic. Right. And I think even if I was 3 years old, I think I'd probably have that memory because at that moment, my life changed drastically.
Right. Now, through your book, you say that your dad wasn't there, you wanted information about your dad. How do you think that affected you as a child, not having a father figure or a dad present?
Oh, it affected me greatly. I mean, the images that I saw on TV, it was the mom and the dad, and it was the hugging and the kissing and the I love yous. I mean, to have a mother who's absent from you emotionally, she's there physically, but emotionally she's not there, and she's just pushing you to the side, and not having that second parent,
Right.
Yeah, that was very hard. That was a very tough time.
This book, I can't say how much this book emotionally got at my soul and at my spirit, and just like I said in the opening, it just makes you want to go out there and do something. Call your mom, call your dad, just because it's things that you don't think about. In your book, I was reading and I thought, oh, okay, that happened. So things are going to get better. And I kept waiting for the kick, waiting for, okay. And then it's something else, and I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't know how she got through the incident at age 5, and then it's the next thing, and how do you keep just striving to live?
Well, I mean, there were times when I didn't want to. There were times when a desire had left, and there were multiple suicide attempts as early as age 11. So, but even after adolescence and onto adulthood, there was numerous suicide attempts or thoughts of suicide. But when you grow up not having anyone and it's just yourself, you learn that that's the only person that you can rely on. And that's when it comes to choices. That's when you have to make the choice. Do you want to continue that cycle? Do you want to be like that mother who raised you? Do you want to be like that absent father who was never there? Do you want to be like those people that are in that environment that you had to struggle and survive to get out of? Or do you want to be different? Do you want to make a difference? And I chose that I was not going to live like that. I knew that life had to be better than what I was experiencing. So I knew that I wanted to experience that. And that's what I would strive for every day.
Just so the public knows what I'm talking about, in case they haven't read your book, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things in the book. You say one thing, that you didn't have any friends growing up, and I think a lot of people that's difficult to understand how, you're basically not loved at home, you're not necessarily wanted at home, and then you go to school and you don't have any friends. When I was reading it, I thought, wouldn't that make you want to make friends, attach on to people in some way, because you don't get that at home? So when you went to school, did you have not talked to anybody at school? Well, did you have acquaintances, but you just didn't hang out with people outside of school?
Are you referring to like high school or?
Yeah, well, it seemed like that you really didn't have any friends throughout.
Well, in grade school, I mean, I was just a quiet, shy child. I mean, I was introverted to begin with, and then with the abuse going on, of course, you just stay within yourself. So, yeah, as a small child, I was extremely shy, extremely introverted. I mean, I was at school, the only thing I did at school was to excel so that I would get that made my teacher happy. So that was like, oh, this is cool. If this is what I get when I do well, I'm going to do well all the time. So I got that from my teachers. But when I got home, it was taken different. I didn't get that same effect. So yeah, I did what I could in school to get that affection from my teachers. But as I got older, and when you get into high school, there's the cliques, there's the popular kids, the mean kids, the nerds. I was the person who sat in the back who didn't want to be there. You know, I didn't want the attention. I didn't want anyone to focus on me. I thought about, if I were to walk into my high school reunion, no one would know who I was. No one would remember me because that's just how it was.